My name is Nick Carstensen. I'm the product manager for security and integrations. And on with me today, I have John Hartley. He is part of our security analyst team. He will help do the demo and demonstration of the Okta Spotlight, as he helped create most all of it for him. So he gives him the background. He can talk a lot about how it was created and what the different use cases are around Okta. A little bit of the agenda here. I'll go over an overview. I'll have a few slides I'll talk about, and then John will talk about some other slides. And then we're going to do a quick demo of the actual plugin itself and the content that we've created for that. And at the end, again, we'll have a Q&A session like we always do. Inside of the Zoom chat controls, there's a Q&A box. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type those questions in. And if we have time at the very end, we'll get to those questions. Anything that we do not have time for, we'll follow up via email at the end. So in case anybody doesn't know, I want to give a brief overview of what Okta is. I'll let you guys kind of read some of those slides over there. But from a very high level, Okta is a multi-factor authentication agent, or like an SSO agent as well. It lets you as a person via a cloud service connect to many different applications. Those applications could be in the cloud, such as Office 365 or Google, or even an on-premise solution that you have. It does talk through different authentication methods like SAML or OAuth, and it lets you pass those credentials from a one centralized login portion. So you can go ahead and say, Nick, in my case, I'm logging on to the Okta infrastructure, and then I'm going to go ahead and pass hidden credentials behind the scenes to go ahead and log on to different instances of products. We can integrate this into things like Graylog or again, Office 365 or anything else that we want to log on to. Okta also does give you some other benefits as far as doing like lifecycle management around people. So you can set up a new account, you can actually deactivate person in one spot, and they do lose access to all those different applications that they have there. You can do the multi-factor authentication if you guys want to do a token or one-time use password. All that can be integrated through Okta as well. Just so you can see down there too, if you guys want to try this out, there is a free trial account out there. So you guys can sign up. You do get 30 days trial out there. We can log on, see the different interactions with your applications that you have, and see how that would be then tracked with our Graylog content that we've created for them. So with this new spotlight that we've created for Okta, again, like we did with the authentication one, we've built a lot of pre-built views into your data sets that you might be gathering. So as all this data is coming in via an API call, we'll go off and grab it into the Okta infrastructure. We'll pull those logs back. We do put them into our schema that we have, and then we can go ahead and present that to you in these different dashboards, which John will go over here in his demo. We spent, again, hundreds of hours developing this content between the schema, between the lookup tables that we have to enrich the data, and the different dashboards and alerts that we have. Along with this content that we've created, or this Okta Spotlight, we've actually done a little bit of modification. So if anybody has already installed some of the other Graylog Illuminate content that we have, there is a modification that comes out with this one. What we've done is actually separate part of the core infrastructure that we have inside of Illuminate, and the core is really the underlying framework that we need, and then we can layer additional content on top of that, or additional spotlights. So there'll be the spotlight for authentication, and there'll be the Okta Spotlight that you can put on top of core. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, ask our support staff or your sales reps if you guys have questions on that. We can help you through that. But we did make one small change there. It'll make it much more modular going forward in the future, though. But being separated from those spotlights and that core, the core does have the Elasticsearch templates that we have. It does have some core alerts in there that are kind of universal across everybody. So like our previous one around authentication, and it's Okta, there's obviously user logon type data. So we can create core alerts, and that will fire upon multiple failed logons, no matter what your authentication source is, if it's Windows or if it's Okta, or if it's the next one down the line that we release. And that's why we separated that out into the core there. But then again, with all this pre-built intelligence that we have in here, all the months of testing that we've done to actually get this built, and integrations and testing as far as building the plugin to pull the data in, we want to release this out to our enterprise customers with valid support contracts. You guys can get that today if you guys reach out to your sales reps, or if you want to get reach out to your customer success managers as well. We can go ahead and send you those links so you can download these, and then our support staff will help you get it installed if you guys have any problems with that. This does require version 3.3, and going forward, it'll be supported. So just keep that in mind too. If you guys are on an older version, again, we can help you get upgraded to 3.3. With that, John, I'll let you take over here on some of these slides.
Okay, so um, the Okta Spotlight uses the Graylog best practices for processing incoming messages. So most of our logic is built around the the pipeline, and so we use the pipeline to normalize incoming messages, add context to them. Um, the data in the pipeline and the stream for Okta gets merged with eliminate core data and message processing pipelines as well. And the system out of the box provides some basic starter dashboards that give overview information related to sign-on activity, administrative access, a view of the full log data coming out of Okta as well. You want to go to the next slide there? So we have a dashboard and overview that just gives a high-level view of your message volume and the graph across the top, the authentication activity, both successes and failures, as well as some data on your Okta organization or your tenants and the volume that they're producing, how many are responding to message pull requests, and so forth. Next slide. So we have a sign-in activity where we have surfaced messages relevant to logging into Okta. So these are authentications to the Okta system itself. And those can be generated either through direct login or through a single sign-on relationship where you're using something like Google as the authentication source of record. But these are the messages that get generated when a user authenticates to the Okta system through one mechanism or another. And so it gives you visibility into the protocols, transaction types, what the source user and source IP address activity volume looks like, and also includes a table of messages relevant to sign-in activity in Okta. The SSO Activity tab is it shows the activity within Okta for application access. So once a user is authenticated to Okta and they have their dashboard to go out and launch applications that are integrated via SAML or OAuth or other protocols, then this tab would extract and surface those events that are relevant to that activity. And again, it gives you visibility into the modes or protocols that are being used, source activity, and a table of messages related specifically to SSO activity. The admin activity tab is, pretty much what it would sound like. So it's a tab that has widgets that are focused on surfacing activity within the Okta environment that are related to administrative functions. And so this would be privileged access, this would be calling of methods or invoking functions within Okta, such as creating a new user or changing group properties. It will show what users are accessing privileged applications or the privileged administrative UI within the Okta environment. And again, it breaks out and shows some activity metrics based on the organizational source, and has a a block again of messages related to administrative activity within the Okta environment. And okay, so I guess I'll share my screen. Okay. So is my screen visible, Nick?
Yeah, very good.
Okay. So bear in mind that this is a lab or system that we're doing this demo off of. So it has at times been in a state of flux, but we'll muddle along here and hope everything shows the way it should. So using the Okta Overview tab, you can see that in this environment I have 3 Okta orgs configured. So I have 3 different, if we were to go to the Okta inputs, I have 3 inputs bringing in data from 3 different Okta tenants, or from 3 different Okta tenants, or what Okta calls organizations. So this is just a quick overview of these functions. Again, you have the volume over time that gives you a sense of, day to day or hour to hour, depending on how you have your range defined. We have numerical heads ups of some key metrics related to sign-in successes, failures, login success. These sign-in failures that you see here are artificially high. It's part of my testing and experimentation. We have some other graphical metrics that are pulled out. And again, these are all entirely customizable. They can be moved around, rearranged, edited as needed by the user. So these are intended to be a starting point. And this table down here gives a quick view into the volume of activity coming out of the individual Okta inputs or Okta organizations. Going to the sign-in tab, we can get a view of the again, activity related to users signing in or authenticating specifically to Okta. So this is separate from launching SAML or OAuth apps. This is specifically to the Okta authentication processes, and it gives, again, the same sort of data that we had described before with some geographic data, transaction and protocol type, which it looks like I've had a glitch, great for live demos. And then again, a summary table at the bottom, where if you're just want to see events that relate to authentication to Okta, then that would be easy to just scroll down and see that. The SSO Login Activity tab gives insight into the applications that are being launched from Okta, which would be this middle block here, which shows a bunch of different applications that would be presented to users who are logged into Okta. They have a graphical menu, and then they click on an application they've been granted access to that might go to any number of cloud applications, whether they're internal company specific or Salesforce or what have you. This block over here has this widget here shows the login modes or the protocols that are used for the launching of those SSO applications, which might be a useful metric if someone wants to understand how much of their traffic is SAML versus OpenID, for example. Again, more of the breakout data that shows data by target app, source IP. It does look like there's something that didn't get hooked up the last time I worked on this. There's a couple of pieces from Illuminate Core that should be filling in some of this autonomous system data here. And then we have a table at the bottom of the screen that can be used for exploring and surfacing this message content, providing additional pivots and filters. Again, the intent of this slide is, or this tab is to capture and display administrative activity on the systems, such as super users, specific API calls, things that would be related to changing the configuration of the Okta environment, or user accounts or groups, that sort of thing. And then we also have a tab that shows the full Okta log, and this is just this is an unfiltered listing of all of the events that have been received by Okta or by an Okta input and processed within Graylog in the time frame for the search window. So if you have your search set for the last 5 days, then that's going to affect the amount of data that's shown here, just as in the other tabs. So that is my walkthrough of the Okta Illuminate user interface tabs for the Okta content pack.
Nice. Thanks, John. If you want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen there, I can come back. Here, if you guys can see this now. A few questions that came in. I'll talk about those here in just a second. I did want to go over this slide here real quick too. We are offering a special kind of right now to get started with this, so you can have access to your Okta logs as well as the authentication data and other things that are coming up. Kind of on the next couple packs that'll be coming out, we'll have something more towards the networking side of the house around Palo Alto and other networking firewalls in general, as well as coming out probably in the next couple months. We'll have something around Office 365 as well. Some content around that, as well as the integration plugin to pull that data in. But to get access to all this, we are offering the starter package where we're giving you an extra 2 gigs a day. So you get up to 7 gigs a day, and you get full access to the Illuminate and all the different plugins that we're creating. We'll also have an onboarding program to get you up and running quickly, as well as giving you the technical support. So if you have any issues, you can reach out to us and ask those questions. So now there's a few questions that have came in. John will let you answer a couple of them. I'll take a couple of them as well, and then we can go from there. One of those is, the first question is, how do we set up this plugin itself? Like, how do we get the Okta log data inside of here? I wanted to go over real quick how easy it is. I'll show you my screen as well. We can just go over the input. I don't know if everybody's seen this. We did have a different video on that one, but I want to quickly show you if you guys can see my screen now. This was that admin activity tab. But in order to get all this data in, really all you need is the secret key. If you go into these inputs that were there before, and then we go to the Okta ones, all you need to do is give you your domain name where it's at and the API key. And we'll go off and start pulling those logs in. You do have that ability to set the time back so you can gather previous data that you've already had inside of Okta up to the limit by default, I think there's 90 days inside of Okta that we can pull in. And we can start grabbing that data and pulling it in. So pretty easy to do, again, with just a key. You put in there, we'll start pulling that data in. It is all conformed to our schema that we have. The other one that I had inside of here is, as far as a question, is around the, the multiple instances. You can have multiple instances like John was showing around the different Okta types. You can pull all that log data in from your different tenants that you have, bring that in, and it can keep that separate. You can also put them in different indices if you want to as well. And then inside of those different indices, you guys can keep retention times around that. So you can have 30 days for one tenant and 90 days for the other. I have one more question here. It says, would the system require a dedicated instance of Graylog, or can it be used with an existing system that's collecting regular log data? And the main question around that is the increased amounts of Okta data. We can definitely do it on the same system. That's how most people are going to do it. They'll just add a new input, bring that data in. Again, we would want to watch for the log volume. We do have the ability to filter out certain things in that input, but it's always best to start up the input, watch it for a day to see the log volume. And then if you need to tune that down or put it into a different index, we can help with that through our support side as well.
Yes, there is. So there's a question about, is there a document describing how to install Illuminate? Yes, there's with both Illuminate Core and with Illuminate, the Okta components that go on Illuminate Core, there are instructions that are detailed and specific on getting that installed. With Core, there's a number of steps that must be taken, including configuring the Elastic system underneath to handle some schema changes. And the Okta system includes detailed instructions on obtaining the required Okta token for the API access, as well as some recommendations for setting security on the account that controls that token. But yes, there are complete instructions for installing and configuring that.
Thanks, John. With that was all the questions that we had so far. We'll obviously hang around here for just a second as well, if you guys have another one coming in. But as always, keep up with us on our events page that we have. You can see different upcoming webinars. Obviously, follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Twitter, we usually post all these out here a couple weeks before each one and then the day before as well. So you can always see what the next upcoming webinars are. With that, I want to thank John for your time today and everybody else for joining. If you guys have any questions, as always, reach out to us and we'll be glad to help you out however we can. Thanks all.